And we're live. Welcome, everyone, to It's Time to Excel, where we inspire and we ignite the possibilities that are all around us. And I'm looking so forward to today's conversation because you know what? It's January. And what's one of the things that pop into mind in January? Those lovely resolutions. And how often do those resolutions come up year after year after year after year? Same exact ones. And funny thing, they never quite get completed. And that's why we're taking this month particularly, and we are really focusing in on goals. So we have with us today is Leslie Flowers, and this is her specialty. So we are so glad to have you here today, and we're going to talk about steps to achieving that goal. And this is your wheelhouse. This is what you are very familiar with. This is what you teach. This is what you have done for the last buku years. We'll just go there. I don't know if you want to tell your age. We won't go there. But lots of years. Lots and lots of
21.
years. Okay.
21.
As we were going through. So it's going to be really interesting. So we really want to focus in because you know what? This is the time of year. It's a new year. It's a new start. It's your time to excel. And we want to help you to do that. And we can do that by first figuring out what are our goals for this year. So, I've been kind of asking, okay, let's start thinking about this. Then on top of that, we're going to go in and we're going to pop into the next half of this and we're going to jump over and apply what we're going to be talking about here into a virtual lunch and learn / mini masterclass, but we actually get to apply it together and we're going to work through it. So we're looking so forward to that. And that link will be out here just in a little bit. But in the meantime, Leslie, how about telling the folks a little bit about yourself?
Oh my goodness. Well, I've been in personal development for a long time, about 25 years, and it overlapped with 45 years in corporate. So I was a master executive assistant, right, in corporate America. And then the last 10 years, I served as the only executive assistant to several startups, which meant that I was responsible for liaising with board members, doing due diligence to sell the company. And I was the final pair of eyes on everything. And through my corporate career, I became an excellent line editor. So the command of the English language has really been a love of mine. I've written a number of books and helped other people achieve their goal of writing a book. Now, in 2013, I stumbled and was guided uh, through a series of events and ended up on Bob Proctor's site. Now, I didn't know him from Adam. I saw The Secret, the movie The Secret. I guess it was out in about 2006, and that's where I first saw him. He
Okay.
was the curmudgeonly old grandfather, right? But I didn't know who he was. Anyway, long story short, in 2008, I bought into business with him and was instructed to become a master of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich and start a mastermind. My question was, I had three questions. What is a mastermind? What the heck is Think and Grow Rich, and how much is it going to cost?
There you go. It's
Right, right.
amazing what 21 years, quote unquote, have come into play.
So it was, they said this was in November of '07. The training would start in March the following year. And they said $16,000. Well, it might as well have been 60 because I had $500 in my Edward Jones account and I was working full time. I was making about 2,500 clear a month. I was a happy camper doing what I loved, but I didn't have a lot of money stashed, right? But I told them, I'll be there.
You
In
had a
that
big goal.
moment, I had no idea where the money was going to come from. And that's one of the critical things about setting goals. And it's averse to everything that you would think, most people think. You don't have to know how to do it. In
Really?
fact, if you know how, it's not a good goal. So you need a couple of steps to get started. But the process of developing desire and a love for this thing means that you have to be open for opportunities
Okay.
and people that show up that can take you towards your goal. If you know exactly how to do it, every step. You're going to run into obstacles and you're not going to be aware of the synchronicity, right? So let me just say that the most important thing that I've learned is that in all my life in this work is just because I don't know how something works yet doesn't mean it's not working. In other words, we have a limited amount of information, and as we get more information, we do more things, right?
Sure.
So what I can tell you is if you already know how to achieve your goal, pick another goal. And so over the last, let's see, since 2013, I've developed a program. There is now a checklist for crafting your goal, which I couldn't find anywhere, so I created it. So that's what we're going to look at. These are the things that when you set a goal, and I invite people to think about what is it that you'd like to set? What goal would you like to achieve in the next, say, few months? Okay, 3 months is a sweet spot. And then when we get over to the other side, what we'll do is we'll test it to see, is it a good goal based on the principles of achievement? So there's a list, a checklist.
To actually determine, because we want to achieve the goals, because why are we setting them if we're not going to achieve them? But too often that's the case. And I think it comes so much to light in January. When doing these resolutions. What have you found that in what you've been talking? Like, this is the perfect time to set these goals, but yet by February they fall off.
Yeah, well, the best example that most people can relate to is the health clubs. So when you join a health club in January, you got a new resolution, a new goal, I'm going to lose weight, right? And you sign up. And you find that your foot is tapping, waiting to use a machine. The place is packed in January. Now, in February, you can find a machine. And there are people on either side of you to have a wonderful conversation with. By March, you're alone. You're all by yourself. And it's because no one ever taught us how to set a goal that we would have our best chance at achieving. Have you ever? That's it. And we were taught everything. So I remember when I was a kid, do you remember those icky word problems? You probably loved, Janet.
I did.
You did. But when I first learned them, I don't think they told us the trick that I learned in college. So there's a trick to word problems. Now, if the teacher explained it in elementary school, I don't remember, right? And so I never knew when the train left here and the train left there and what day and what was the speed and where will they cross in Indiana, right? I mean, I just never got it until I went to college. And in my algebra class, Janet, the teacher said, by the way, did you know that there were only 6 simple algebraic equations for all word problems?
Yep.
You know it. See, I didn't know it. As soon as they're so simple, you could take any word problem. Yep. So those were the rules. So since 2013, I've been asking everybody, have you ever been shown how to set a goal where you always have your best chance at achieving and not one person, nobody?
No, they say set it and go for it, but that's it. But there's certain steps that you really need to be taking and thinking about. And that first one is let's set it up for success. You're saying 90 days. So let's look at a 90-day goal. And we want to encourage our folks to start there.
Why do you think, how did 90-day goals work for you? I know you've tried that and you've used that before. How did they work for you?
Well, what I have done is usually, I will admit, usually, especially in business world, I'll go for the whole year. This is where I'm going. And then I break it down into a quarter. So then I evaluate on the quarter. This is the math in me.
That's okay.
But then I also break it down into the month because I need to know. I said, okay, 3, because that was just a little too much for me at times because I have some pretty lofty goals for business. Out of my comfort zone big time. I have no idea how we're going to get there, but we're going to get there. And
that's right. That's the key. You really don't know. And this is the problem with SMART goals. That's all we ever had. And They were not designed for goals. They were designed for the tasks to
I was
reach
going
the
to say they were
goal.
task driven. They were task
But
driven.
yet you see people
Yep.
stuffing their big dreams into
Into a task.
circles. And then they're wondering, well, why aren't I achieving my big dreams? Well, because there's two elements, achievable and realistic, that are great for tasks, but they stink for a big dream.
Absolutely.
Do you think that the Wright brothers thought that flying was achievable or realistic?
And most people told them they were crazy.
Exactly right. And that's why the problem here is everybody wants to achieve their goals, but the truth is only a few people actually set and achieve them with any consistency. Now, if it's not consistent, then you're not going to grow with momentum. It's haphazard. I get one, I lose one. I don't really know how, but yay, look, I achieved this one. That will not make you happy every day.
No. And also, and you talk about one of the first things when we got together and I attended some of your classes, one of the things was like confidence is that muscle, which means you've got to achieve a few things to build that muscle up, because otherwise it just, why bother? And
Yes,
I
well,
see that very often even with the kids and stuff, like especially if you've got a strong-willed kid, they'll go to a certain point and then they just shut down. And I think
that's
that
right.
happens in the business world as well. I'm guessing you have seen that once or twice.
Say a little bit more about that, Janet.
It was kind of interesting. One of the things I noticed, but I have a strong-willed kid, you know, so it's I also have a strong-willed husband, and some people call me a little strong-willed, so it's quite an interesting household. And then add 4 dogs into it. It's great. But anyhow.
And they're all strong-willed.
It's entertainment around here. Never a dull moment. And that's characteristic of business world too. But what, you know, was interesting when he was in school, we'd have a battle of wills. And it was like, okay. And very often he battled more with his dad because they were too much alike. But okay, let's say we had to get a word problem done and we had to do some other crazy, more fun entertainment type project as well. And I remember one night I had a PTO meeting and I left the kids with the dad. And there ends up being an argument over whether or not we're going to do the fun project before the other not so fun project, or the vice versa. One wanted to do it one way, but then guess what happened? The very next morning at 6 a.m., I dragged the kid out of bed because we didn't do either of them, and I made them do it before we went to school. Because instead of being realistic, unrealistic, whatever, I think what ends up happening is if you don't, they didn't achieve anything.
Got it.
And when they started pushing back at each other, neither one of them was going to budge. So therefore, they just threw in the towel. And I've seen that even with clients as I've been working with them. They get so frustrated, especially because I do numbers. So people glaze over on a good day with
Hello.
me. That's okay. But they just throw in the towel really quickly because they have no confidence in getting that through. And I think that's one of the things that stuck out when we were talking before, like when I was attending that class, is, you know, you've got to achieve some small wins. So a lot of times when I'm working is we are achieving those small wins. Okay, let's just start here. And then all of a sudden the numbers become easier because they come clearer, just like with goals.
Yes. And out of confusion comes order.
Exactly.
So when they're butting heads, they're confused and they'll take no real action other than butting heads. Now, the trick for women in 2013, I began to work primarily with women because I realized they knew nothing about the principles of success in business. And why would they? They were for 5,000 years doing other things while men were managing the business. So it takes two things to be successful in 21st century business. One is the ability, right?
Sure.
So we are pretty good. We can be objective. How good are we at this? But the other one is deservability or self-worth. So effectively, confidence, a muscle that grows in direct proportion to its use, is the byproduct of consistent achievement. So if you want to build your muscles, you go to the gym every other day and you work the uppers and then the lowers, etc. You don't go once a month or once every 2 weeks. That's right. So the idea is if in order to build confidence and success, you must set and achieve goals in consistent spaced intervals over time, and you were never taught how to do that, then how in the world would you be able to grow confidence? How could you be successful? And that is my work. This is the mindset piece. Those people that stop, they're simply afraid. And so far, they will change. They will get it one day. We just don't know when, but we want to hold the space for them to realize that it's much more important to collaborate and achieve rather than win the argument.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's what I said to them. I'm like, okay, well, okay, one of them was an adult, one of them was not. So, okay, was it really that big of a deal? And once you put it that way, they're like, not really.
That's right. That's right.
But,
That's right.
in the moment, and that happens so often, I think, with the clients as well. In that moment, they're so frazzled and they're so overwhelmed that they
That's right.
never take that next step, that never action. So they never get that confidence build up. And then it just snowballs the wrong direction. So I think as we're talking about steps, so one of those, we got to set the goal. Absolutely. And I know we've talked a little bit about wants and needs. I mean, that's come up in another couple of things, and I think what's one of the things with a goal, you always talk about that. So share a little bit more about the wants versus the needs when it comes to a goal, because I want to get $100,000 this year. That's a great goal, right?
Well, I would ask you, have you ever done it before?
And the answer would be no.
Then it's a good goal initially. So one of the things is you don't have to know how to do it. Therefore, if you know how, it is not a good goal. The purpose of a goal is to motivate us. If you already know how to do it, you're not going to stay motivated, right?
No.
Now, as to your question about want and need, this is one of a dozen principles of achievement. On the checklist, the more of them you use, the best chance you're going to have at achieving in the shortest amount of time. If you only use one or two, it becomes haphazard. And most of us know one or two or maybe even three of these. The problem is they couple them with all the things that don't work, right? Like I need it to be achievable. I already know how to do it. So where were we?
Oh, talking about the wants versus the needs and kind of.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So one of the things, if the purpose of a goal is to motivate us into action, so think about this, what you want feels so much better and it's more exciting than, well, I need to go to the store and pick up a quart of half and half. Now you're gonna, okay, so the vibration, and again, this could be something that you don't understand, and it's okay. You don't understand it yet. You may not believe it yet. Just because you don't know about it doesn't mean it's not happening. It means that your job is to learn about it. So effectively, you only pick one goal each quarter, particularly for women who want to load their plate up with 21 goals. And oh, by the way, they'll finish them all, but nothing will shine.
And that's the key. That's one, especially for women, that I'm guilty of it over the years.
So when you bring them all together, so if it's something you need, you're still going to go get it, but don't pick that as your goal, because the idea to be motivated, and we're looking at a 90-day goal. This seems to be the sweet spot, Janet. I've tried all sorts of different ones, and I'm not the first one. I mean, there's the 12-hour work week, the 90-day this. I mean, other people have written about this. Right. So 90 days it's the sweet spot. It's enough time to create a new belief. And by the way, every goal you achieve is a new belief in your ability and your deservability. And that is the work. The work is to prove to yourself, to believe that you can do it, even when you didn't know how, because you wanted to so much. So it's really about what you want. Now, you said you wanted $100,000. You want to generate 100. Okay. I mean, I think you got to be excited. So why? So the next question is, you don't know how you're going to do it. So there's going to be a natural amount of fear. It's normal. But my question to you is, Why do you want $100,000? What will it make available for you, your family, for your community, your business? Why? Tell me why.
Well, and that's a lot of it is I know that at that level, I'm going to be able to go back. Like, I was used to corporate America, so my paychecks were, well, for a long time more than his.
Yeah.
And now, when things shifted around a little bit, if something happens to his job, I can't handle the bills on what I was making. And that's just not okay. For me, that's just not okay. I was so used to being for a while there the breadwinner,
Right.
kind of a
Right.
deal. And we
Okay.
tag teamed it. But if I can
So
get to
why?
the stability and the
Okay. Got it.
freedom, the stability that I know that will cover the bill. So if something happens, there's a backup plan. I like my backup plans
Well,
that I
what else will it make available for you? Because that is coming from, so I get it,
Mhm.
and I get where you're headed with that, but that's coming from an old fear of poverty,
It
which is
very well
one of
could be. Yeah.
6 basic fears. So
Mhm.
I'm looking for the good, juicy, fun stuff that $100,000 will make available to your son, right? To your family, to taking a trip
We'd be
somewhere.
able to travel more and that's the key of it. So it's I won't go to that level till I can make sure the baseline, the foundation's there.
Got it.
And that's kind of where it's going. So I know that I've got, I get to the foundation, but if I go in there, then we'll actually, if we want to go back up to Pennsylvania, we can do it. We can further,
Yeah.
we might want to take 2 cars with 4 dogs, but, but we can definitely just throw, if we just want to go, just go. We don't have to think about it. We
So
can just go.
that's what
And that's
happens.
why.
Right. And that is your why.
Mm-hmm.
I'm clear that you have a
Mm-hmm.
responsibility and you're
Mm-hmm.
going to cover needs where I'm looking for, if necessary. Okay.
Yeah,
If
absolutely. Of
necessary.
course.
But it's really, what do you think about when you know you have that in the bank? What are the
Mm-hmm.
things, the joyful
We
things, the
do.
things you visualize that you
Mm-hmm.
love doing that maybe you haven't been able to do for a long time?
Yeah.
Right? That is where you focus on the why, not how, because remember, you don't know how.
We don't know
And,
how. Mm-hmm.
and the more you focus on how, the more fear comes up because you don't know how you're going to do it.
Exactly.
What if
Exactly.
the Wright brothers gave up? And they said, well, listen, this is scary stuff for me. I have no clue how we're going to fly. And you know what, Wilbur, I'm out of here.
Yep. Yeah. And that makes a
Because
difference.
all ideas are here.
Mm-hmm.
It only takes someone to figure
To put
it
them together.
out. Yeah.
To put it together. It's pretty, and I purposely made sure I said that first because I know you and I have worked, and I know we're
Yeah.
kind of because I see that with my clients, and I know you see it with it. It's that
Oh, yeah.
initial thought. And years ago, that was my answer, and I knew
I
you knew
understand.
probably where I was going anyway, because we have worked together and we've had an opportunity to share. Like, and you kind of knew where I'm standing, where I'm going. Yeah, but to be able to go out, and of course, when in the middle of this chaos we're in now, who knows how travel's going to go? But at least if I could jump in the car and
Right.
and not have to think twice about it and be able, I'd love to take all 4 boys up to camp and just let them run because you know
Now,
what, they
see
would
where you're
learn.
going? Do you see where your mind is going?
Mhm.
This is your synthetic imagination,
Now,
which
what
is,
can happen?
huh?
What can happen? What?
What do you want to happen?
Exactly.
And you absolutely deserve it. You're working for it. Now, for women in particular,
Hmm.
we feel a little guilty when we have a lot of free time on
Yeah,
our
it's free
hands.
time.
Like we ought to be doing something with that time, like sitting
Yep.
there. It reminds me of uh, the girl on Sex and the City, sitting in Carrie's apartment with a magazine and a cup of tea. And this was when she wanted to take a couple of days off from her family and without feeling guilty.
Guilty. That's the kicker.
That is. And when you start taking all that stuff off your plate as a woman, you there's guilt. Like, oh my God, I have a day off. Well, I should be doing something. I should be preparing a meal. You've done that for 5,000 years. There are new skills. And one of them is letting go of being everything to everyone.
Everybody.
And when someone snaps their fingers, you say, what, when, how can I help you? That's great. And that's what you did for 5,000 years as a mom, as a family manager. But that is not what men were doing in business. So our job is we have a learning curve, just like if we sent all the men home and the women to work. Sure. You don't think they'd have to figure out how to get a meal on the table with everything coming out of the oven at the same time? How many years does it take to coordinate a meal when you have guests over where the potatoes, the string beans, the rolls, everything is ready at the same? There's a learning curve.
Well, you go in shifts. It's okay.
So wait, I got to go get the potatoes. They're burning. So my ideal clients are women that are clear that they've got some learning to do. That's all. They're not intimidated by it. They're not railing against it. They get it. They're smart. They're successful already. And yet, what is it? What is that missing piece that would have you set and achieve, set and achieve, set and achieve? And I have the answer. So, and I will help anybody who wants to know it isn't overnight, but you can do it in 90 days.
Okay.
You can do it.
And that's it. So we're going to talk about some of the steps. We're going to and then we're going to invite everybody over. I'm going to pop in the chat because I know that you have, if you want to learn a little bit more, there's a 5-day Art of Results masterclass. That is March 21st to 25th. And I'm going to go pop that into the links as we are speaking. That's out there. Please take advantage of that. It's coming up here. And you're going to be able to have an opportunity. This is an opportunity to work with Leslie and just have the opportunity to just work with Leslie. And then see, and you'll learn more about some of these steps. We talked about making sure it's a want, not a need. And I purposely used that word because I wanted to have folks kind of see where we're at. And I figured, let's throw something out there that I haven't done yet.
And these are distinctions.
Exactly.
And I believe that you actually know the answer to all of these. Inwardly, I don't know when you hear it, but you will know, because they say we come into this world with everything we need. But we have a sensory overload in our world, and we only think one thought at a time consciously. So it's hard to remember everything, right? So it's what you bring top of mind and what you do with consistency. And that's how I found since 2013 that this 90-day doing everything that's in my flagship program, but the 5-day challenge is free, and it will show you the basic concepts. And after 5 hours in 5 days, you will have the plan and the wherewithal and the information to set a goal that you'll achieve over and over and over every quarter.
And that makes a huge difference. And that's
it's so much fun.
And I was going to say, you can have fun doing it. So let's add that to it.
It doesn't have to be a struggle. The struggle is when you think you have to plot every single step and, oh my God, if I can't figure it out, right? That is so not true. In fact, the universe will send people based on, and this is another conversation, toward you that have the answers to your questions. So if someone shows up and tells you something and you go, oh boy, is that a coincidence? I was just thinking about that. What if it isn't a coincidence? Just think about that. What if it isn't? Then it becomes really fun, because then you start to realize that what you want is actually moving toward you at the same vibration you're moving toward it. So if you're feeling great and you have a spring in your step, everything you want comes your way. But if you're sitting on the couch, grimacing, your goal is over there on its couch. If you get up off the couch, it gets up off its couch. If you drag yourself through your day, it's dragging itself, right? So that's not our natural way. No. Our real natural way is to fall in love. Hey, just take a look at a 2-year-old going for a cookie at dinner time.
You're going to get that cookie. Kyle's notorious for, he told me to leave. I'd drop him off at daycare. It's like a little over a year, because I started that one. He's like, leave, Mom. And I'm like, excuse me. And I was talking to the daycare lady at the door, and she turned around and she's like, she put her head down. She goes, yep, he did it again. I'm like, uh-oh, now what? And he was the first one because I started 7 to 4. So I was the first person to drop off and usually the last person to pick up. And he had pulled a stool over at he was less than 2, pulled the stool over, climbed up on it, was getting a cookie out of the jar.
Oh my gosh,
And she's
incredible.
like, I got to go before it hits the ground. I'm like, if he does, he'll bounce and be okay. And she just started laughing because at this point, what do you do? Because that kid was going to get a cookie. There was no ifs, ands, or buts.
This is so awesome and fun. And we're headed over. Where
We
is my
are.
link
So
for the live?
yep, it's coming through here right now. So make sure you grab that link out there for the 5-day masterclass. So take full
Thank you.
advantage of that. It is there. Click on that register so you can get all the information. And then right behind it, it's posting here very slowly, but it's posting.
I got it. Very clever. I like this.
Yeah, it's a little bit, I guess, I don't know, it might be some internet issues, but that's okay. We're going to actually apply what we've talked. So we're going to take a goal and we're going to dig into it. But we need to have a little bit more interactively. So what we want to do is we want to invite you over to the Zoom room so that we actually have time to really dig into this for the next half an hour. And we're going to take a look at some of these goals, and we're going to get beat up a little bit, but that's okay because that's half the fun of it. That's half the fun.
I'll
of it,
be
because you know what we
gentle.
need to be
I'll be
thinking.
and listen, yeah. So all right. So I'm to take this first link and go over there, and other
Yep,
people
jump on
will.
over. We're going to tell everybody. So return back here next week, of course, for our typical It's Time to Excel. We look forward to seeing everybody here next week. And we're all doing about goals and different things that are coming out. And I think next week I'm going to be talking about whacking a mole and how that has to do with your counting system. Sometimes you can use the whack-a-mole philosophy to do it. So if you'd like to learn more, come join us. In the meantime, I do invite you guys, please jump on over to Zoom and let's really dive in one-to-one and have the opportunity to share some time with Leslie and really dig into our goals and help her to help us so that we can achieve our goals, because after all, it's time to excel. Looking forward to seeing you next week. Take care.
Bye, everybody.